Hi, I'm Jennifer King with RE/MAX. Today we're going to talk about getting started on purchasing a home. Coming up next. So today we're going to talk about what it takes when you're considering purchasing a home. There's a few things you need to remember. One of them is that your very first step should be pre-approval with a trusted lender or mortgage broker. And we'd love to give you names of people that we know and trust and have been working with for many years. If you need that help, please reach out. The reason for this is we don't want to run around showing you lots of houses and waste your time if you're looking at a price point that you've not been approved for. So this is a really big, important first step. The pre-approval process is pretty simple. You can do that either online, or you can do that with a phone call, or you're welcome to set up an appointment directly with the lender to sit down and go over your financials together. So there's a number of ways that that can be tackled. The process is typically pretty quick, and with a phone call or a quick sit down, you'll be able to determine what amount you're comfortable paying monthly and also how much of a mortgage you can afford, which then equates to what price point of homes you'll be looking at. Your realtor will then go ahead and set up a home search for you, either on their website or their MLS portal. And at that point, you'll have homes of interest being sent to you. And as soon as you see something that you like, then it's time to reach out and get out and take a physical look at those properties. We do also recommend that if you're not familiar in those areas or with the homes that in the areas that you're looking at, that you do a drive-by, maybe check out the neighborhood, and get a feel for whether or not it's a place that you would feel at home. And then when you've decided that it is, we'd love to get you out and take a look at the homes, and you'll know pretty quickly what you can, what features you love, what features you can't live without, and that's a great start to buying a home. So when you're out looking at homes, you're gonna very quickly decide what factors you love about a home, what features you don't care so much for, and what's really important to you as you move forward. That's going to help it be easier for all of us to narrow down what exactly you're looking for, what areas you love, and what things maybe aren't such a good fit for you. At that point, when we find you the home, your next step is going to be writing the offer. But I'm going to back up for just a minute. It's really important to remember that at this point, when you are actively home buying, you need to be extra careful with your finances, and I can't stress that enough. We have had buyers who literally have not been able to go to closing on the home they wanted to buy because they co-signed on a loan, because they cut back to part-time from full-time, or because they lost their job and forgot to tell the lender. So it's really important that, if you're looking for appliances, if you're looking at buying a car, if you're looking at getting engaged or making any large purchases, you really need to have that conversation with the lender before you just go ahead and spend those funds, or it could mess up the whole deal. And you certainly don't want to have to go through that. When you're ready to write up the offer, your realtor will guide you through that entire process and give you counsel. They'll run comparables for you to tell you what you should be offering on the property and what similar properties have sold for. At that point, you're going to also need money for your earnest money deposit. Sometimes people call that a good faith check. That simply means that you are moving forward in good faith, providing the sellers with a deposit towards your purchase, and at the point of acceptance, the seller's agent will actually take that check and deposit into their brokerage's escrow account. You will get that money back as a credited settlement, but it's important to know that, again, the larger the deposit, typically the more good faith you're showing to the sellers, and the more likely they are to be comfortable with your offer. So that's something to keep in mind. Anywhere between 1% and 3% is a great kind of round number. Certainly if you'd like to do more, that's always okay as well. So now that your offer's been accepted, your next step is going to be to do home inspections. We have got an entire list, and your agent will as well if you're not working with our team or not local here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. But we would recommend that you get a home inspection. And the home inspection is typically going to take 3 to 4 hours. There's normally a due diligence period. And in that due diligence period, which in our local market is typically 10 to 21 days, you're going to, that's the amount of days from the point of acceptance of your contract by the sellers. You're going to call and schedule the inspections. Sometimes we'll pop by, sometimes we won't. It's your dedicated time with your home inspection professional that you hire to follow them through and really get a good grasp and understanding of anything that's wrong with the property, any major concerns that they have about the property, and they're also going to give you some good guidelines just on daily maintenance of the property, annual maintenance of the property, and taking care of things. So it's a really good time for you to learn. Just one tip there as well, I would definitely recommend that you consider taking a tape measure and measuring for blinds, curtains, appliances, whatever measurements you need. The home inspection can also be a great time to take those measurements as well. Now the seller has received your inspection response. At that point, they're going to have a few days typically to review and consider their response. They will have typically 5 days from the end of the inspection period. And we always recommend that you schedule your home inspections on the front end of that contingency period. In other words, if you've got a 10-day window, try and get the inspector out there in the first few days. It's super important to have time so that if they find things that need further investigation, such as maybe a roofing issue or things like that, that we have time to get additional professionals in those niches to take a look at those items of concern, and that way we know exactly where we stand. Okay, so that is super helpful. Once we've got all of the inspection reports, we're going to review those together, and we're going to go over each of the things that is of concern to you. Now keep in mind, even on almost new homes, there's typically going to be a loose toilet, a jiggly doorknob, I don't know, there's a myriad of little things. Really what we're looking for are the big dollar items and or the safety concerns. If there's something that's a fire hazard, that's kind of a big deal. If there's something that could be $5,000 or $10,000, that's a big deal. Even a couple $1,000s could be a big deal. However, it's important to keep in mind that just because someone has an old heating unit doesn't mean that they're going to buy you a new one, even though the inspector noted that it could be near the end of their usable life. So there's some options with that. We can talk about home warranties and other things to handle all of those types of issues. Now that we've gotten through inspections, typically the response is going to be either that you accept the inspections with the results and the findings of the home inspector or inspectors, or that we're going to negotiate back either for a seller credit, a reduction in price, or for the seller to do repairs. The seller doing repairs when they're on their way out of the home, maybe not always the best, but we'll talk about it and help you find your way through that process as well. That's what we're here for. So the next item that's going to happen is your lender's going to order an appraisal to be done on the property. The appraisal is going to hopefully substantiate the bank's investment into the property with you in the form of the mortgage. And normally once the appraiser goes out to the property, there's normally about a week or 2 week delay until we actually get the results of the appraisal. As the buyer, you are entitled to a copy of the appraisal, and they will typically email that to you. If the property does not appraise, then we've got another issue we've got to deal with. And normally that's going to mean that either the seller is going to need to come down on their sales price to the appraised amount, or the buyer is going to need to come up with additional funds to pay the difference in cash, or sometimes we meet in the middle on that. So hopefully there's no appraisal issue, but if there is, we'll find our way through it. Please subscribe below, and we look forward to bringing you more videos in the future. We'll see you on the next one.